We're really going to focus on lifting feet off the mat and finding our balance. We'll start with one foot at a time and then eventually both. There will be some falling over, that's completely normal, it's all part of the process. I fell over for months before I even began to hold the pose. So we're really going to learn to trust in our abilities, building up on all the prep that we've done so far and overcoming perhaps our fear of falling over, and also learning to embrace the process and the journey more than the actual pose itself. When it comes to crow and bakasana, we tend to use these interchangeably, but actually our crow pose is a kakasana, which is where the knees are on the outside of the elbows. You'll notice when we come to that, hips are much lower, elbows are much more bent. And when we come to bakasana, which is technically our crane pose, so crane doesn't necessarily mean the arms are completely straight. Elbows can still be bent, but the essential key and difference is that the knees are drawn into the chest. The knees are drawn much higher up onto the arms, so they're not resting on the elbows as a shelf, and that is what permits us to then gradually straighten the arms. Bakasana crane pose is really challenging, requires a lot more arm strength and core strength. And so we are building up to that, but it may not always be accessible to people of all levels or all body types. So you always have the option to take either a kakasana, a crow pose, or a bakasana, a crane pose, and build up to wherever you'd like to be. A lot of people tend to ask, well, how long is it going to take for me to be able to do this pose and that pose? I've been there. I've definitely asked those questions. I can't tell you how long it's going to take. Everybody's body is different. But maybe notice if you're trying to rush towards that end result, or perhaps getting frustrated with yourself if you think you're not seeing any results. And how can you actually be a bit more present and mindful and embracing of wherever it is you may be in your journey at this point. By coming to our seated crow pose, so we would have done this in, I think it was the first video, just drawing heels towards the boot, so feet are off the mat. As we extend the arms in front of us, try to bring the knees as high up into the armpits as possible. They can be on the outside as well, but if they're on the outside, focus on squeezing the knees in rather than allowing them to flop out. So two options. Option one is we're here, knees on the inside of the arms, well, not on the inside, just as high up into the armpits as possible, rounding the spine, or they can be on the outside of the upper arms. Hands are flexed back towards us. We're drawing belly in, rounding within the spine. We'll hold it here for 3 more breaths. Or here. And release into your boat pose, Navasana. So just starting to warm up a little bit. And one last time. Now let's come to our tabletop position. Pressing through the hands to protract the shoulder blades. And as we do this, notice how the insides of the elbows are facing forwards, drawing belly in and chest in, and then dropping the shoulders. Pressing through and lifting, so getting used to this action which we'll mimic in our actual arm balance, and dropping. Pressing through. Now as we've pressed through, slight tuck of the tailbone as you lean forwards, shoulders over the elbows. Keep pressing into the hands, trying to create almost a suction with the hands in for our Hasta Bandha, and coming back. Moving forwards, still squeezing elbows in and back. One more time, moving forwards and back. Now we'll come to some chaturanga push-ups. 2 options here. You can keep the knees down, coming to your modified plank. Lower down on your exhale. Push back up on your inhale. Lower down, exhale. Push back up, inhale. Or you can do this from a full plank, much more challenging. So choose where you'd like to be. You can mix and match. Rolling onto the tippy toes. Lower down, exhale. Push back up, inhale. Lower down, exhale. Pushing up, inhale, and into our downward facing dog. So when we're working on this, there will be a tipping point where we'll feel like, oh shit, I'm about to fall. And generally it's at that point that we lean forward and we're able to catch ourselves. So like I said, we are going to fall over, completely normal. And that's why I've got this pillow in front of me. So a great tip is to practice with a pillow in front of you so that if you do face plant, which you probably will, to be honest, a few times, then you've got a nice cushion to fall on. And then you kind of get over that fear of, oh shit, I'm gonna fall. So when we do this with our block, I'll show you both options again with our Bakasana, knees basically into the armpits, and our Kakasana, knees on the outside, right? So bringing feet onto the block, again, I highly recommend having 2 blocks. I just happen to have one with me today. And knees are on the outside, right? I'm looking forward, one heel, notice elbows have come over the wrist, and then I'm falling, and I just fell into the pillow. It's all good. I have fallen onto the mat multiple times from crow and other arm balances. It's not pretty, but you just fall and we get back up and try again. Times with our block. So choosing which option you'd like to work on, I really do encourage you to try it with knees as high up as possible. Rounding, we're looking forwards. One heel towards the glute, hold it here for about 3 or 4 breaths. Getting used to bringing weight into the hands and then the other foot. Down. Let's try both at the same time. Gripping the floor as much as we can. Elbows over the wrists. Going past that point where we think we might fall. And coming back down. Without the block, let's give that a go. Pillow can stay as long as you need it. Making sure to give our wrists a break if we need to. Looking forward, rounding, trying to engage that Hasta Bandha, drawing belly in as we look forwards. And down. Hands come down as we lift the knees into the armpits, onto the arms, and looking forwards. Gripping the floor, drawing the fingertips back, knuckles lift, creating that suction. So squeezing elbows in as much as possible. We'll lift one foot up, heel to glute, and coming down. So remember, it's our chaturanga arms as we draw the elbows in and back down. Coming a bit more forwards as we find our balance. And a couple final tries, and remembering that if you're feeling any discomfort within the wrists, maybe take a moment to stretch them out. If you're feeling any pain, certainly ease off. Give them time to rest, particularly when we're not used to bearing so much weight onto the hands. And giving it one more try, maybe you're working on your Kakasana. So elbows on the outside. Still looking forwards and coming down, or our Bakasana. Remember, elbows have to come well over the wrists in order for us to actually lift off. And coming back down. When you've had enough, just coming to a seated position. Bring the feet as wide as the mat. Just allow the knees to rock in and out, to the right and to the left. Let them fall all the way over towards the left. And all the way over towards the right.